Stay on topic, episode 9.5. We are primed for a really busy week. It was unbelievably strange this week. To my right, back from his vacation at the Fire Festival, Bob Ricotta.
How you doing, Chris?
Very well. And to my left, a guy who, before the show started, asked Ricotta and I to pledge loyalty to him, James Post.
Never got an answer.
Never will. Like I said, this week was crazy. Today, Friday, the Attorney General Jeff Sessions ordered federal prosecutors seek maximum penalties for drug offenses. There is a company that wants to lease land from Pocono Raceway to grow pot. Was the other thing here. Yesterday was the 12th anniversary of sheer bravery. Leroy Jenkins. Happened 12 years ago yesterday. But that's probably not the news everyone wants to talk about.
Probably not.
So this week went off the rails on Tuesday when President Donald Trump, still odd to say, fired the head of the FBI who was investigating his campaign's ties to Russia.
Yeah, and I've got sort of a little timeline to keep me on track.
A little
here.
timeline. How many pages is that timeline, James?
It's 2 pages in small print. And this is coming from a combination because I've been bad at citing my sources before, so I want to get this in at the start. It's a combination of CNN, Washington Post, and New York Times reporting is what I'm basing this on. So we're going to go back well before Tuesday. We're starting May 2nd. Hillary Clinton makes a public appearance, one of the first she's made in a while, where she says that she was on her way to winning the presidency before Comey sent his letter to Congress saying that the investigation into her emails had been reopened. President Trump responded on Twitter by saying that Comey actually helped Clinton by giving her a, quote, free pass on the email situation. The same day, Trump says on Twitter that the investigation into Russia and collusion with his campaign was, quote, an excuse by Democrats for losing the election. And the next day, May 3rd, after that statement was made, Press Secretary Sean Spicer was asked about the relationship between Trump and Comey and said Trump, quote, has confidence in the FBI director. At some point during that week, and this part is a little fuzzy, but this is coming from a couple of sources inside the Justice Department, is when Comey started asking the Justice Department for more resources to go into this Russia-Trump campaign investigation. Which brings us to Tuesday and the shit hitting the fan.
Like all the shit.
Yes.
Every fan.
Very large fan. Huge.
Huge fan.
So Trump fires Comey, effective immediately. So immediately, in fact, that Comey found out from television coverage before he was notified in person, which was always great. And in the letter he sent firing Comey, he cited a recommendation from Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein and actually attached Rosenstein's memo to the letter. And in the memo, Rosenstein cited Comey's poor handling of the Clinton email investigation, but notably did not directly say that Comey should be fired. The Trump administration then says that Comey was fired on Rosenstein's recommendation. And in fact, Spicer told reporters later that day that Trump had arrived at the decision to fire Comey after receiving that memo from Rosenstein. We now know that that memo from Rosenstein was requested by the president, basically seeking justification to fire Comey. Am I going too fast?
No, you're hitting all the right points.
I'm really surprised your timeline didn't go back to when Hillary Rodham met William Jefferson Clinton, but
no. I'm trying to get into this. You guys tell me if you want me to stop and go into more depth here.
Well, it took it caught a lot of people off guard. The firing,
Yeah.
Except anyone who's ever worked for Trump.
Yeah.
Who was it? The Post interviewed a bunch of people that work for him. They were like, "Nope, that's his style. Ready, fire, aim. That's how he does business."
Yeah.
How would you like to be Donald Trump's legal counsel?
Oh,
The lawyer advising Trump.
And, I don't even know who White House counsel is, to be honest.
worst job, White House legal counsel or press secretary?
Ooh. I bet his legal counsel never hid in the bushes. So
That's fair. Well, and plus, you hire a press secretary knowing they're relatively soulless. It's part of the job. They're going to go out there and support your position no matter how they feel personally. White House counsel, you would think, just because of being an attorney and, working in that position, would have to have some sort of internalized code of ethics. So seems like being counsel might be harder. I don't know. I'm not saying I would ever want to be up on that podium under the Trump administration.
I'm just picturing the conversation between White House counsel and Donald Trump. Donald Trump saying, I think I'm going to fire James Comey. And the counsel saying, that's a really bad idea. And Trump saying, I'm going to do it anyway. And then the counsel just taking a flask out of his pocket, just taking a big haul off it.
Or just every morning reading through his Twitter timeline, just from a legal perspective.
Yeah.
Oh, somebody take the phone away from him.
I have to assume that the conversation between Trump and White House counsel ended with the White House counsel picking up a giant hammer and smashing a tape recorder on his desk.
Sorkin reference number 1, ladies and gentlemen.
There we go.
I was waiting for it.
So moving on.
Are we to Wednesday yet?
I'm moving on to Wednesday now.
Okay.
This is when things start to shift now, and that's one of the odd things about this week. And it wasn't anything nefarious about it, but turns out that Sean Spicer had a Naval Reserve obligation that took him off the podium for half the week, and filling in for him was Principal Deputy Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders, which sort of changed the face of the story for a while because her style's, a little bit different than Spicer is, and her relationship with the press is a little different. But anyway, she comes out and tells reporters during a briefing that Trump had in fact been considering firing Comey since Election Day. She also told reporters that part of the reason for firing Comey was that the FBI rank and file had lost confidence in Comey.
Which I'll have to interrupt just a second. Interim FBI Director Andrew McCabe.
Acting FBI Director.
I'm sorry. Acting interim.
Interim has to be appointed. He's
Okay.
acting.
He's acting
by
FBI
default.
Okay. According to Vox, he has said publicly that the majority of employees in the FBI had a deep positive relationship with Comey.
Yeah, the next day he was speaking in front of Senate Intelligence, and told them that Comey still had, quote, broad support among FBI agents and staff. So, already the message is incredibly muddled. The message was the message was unclear from the beginning, but it's getting more muddled as we go.
Members of the FBI staff like this guy so much, they changed their Facebook profile pics to a likeness of Comey.
Yeah.
Which is normally reserved for an agent who was killed in action.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't he?
That's the level of respect they had for this guy. So now the White House has pissed off one of the most powerful information gathering organizations on the planet.
Well, and also made it very clear that the press secretary either... no, I can't even say she spoke in ignorance, because if she'd spoken in ignorance, she would have hopefully not said anything. She lied from the podium when she said that that Comey had lost the support of the rank and file at the FBI. Just was not true. And claimed that she'd spoken to many, many people at the FBI, which I noted a lot of people on Twitter saying that was extremely strange to think that the deputy press secretary would be getting a lot of calls from agents at the FBI saying how much they don't like Comey.
So President Trump has pissed off the FBI. He's thrown his deputy attorney general under the bus by saying it's his memo that was led to the firing.
Yeah, who then that same day, on the 11th, marches into the Senate intel hearing where McCabe is already speaking and demands to speak to the heads of the committee, basically saying, none of this is my fault, which was just riveting to watch. It was like watching this whole thing unravel. Like, this guy walking into a hearing that's live on C-SPAN, and it's like, I've got to speak. And they're already talking about the same issue with McCabe. And he walks into the room unannounced. Nobody knows he's coming in, and says, no, you've got to talk to me first, because this is fucked up.
Yeah, I've said it before and I'll say it again. If someone turned this script into Shonda Rhimes, she'd be like, no, this is too far-fetched. I can't write this.
That's LA Times actually did a story in today's edition, or at least on their website, called the Comey Affair as a 5-act Hollywood script. I actually wrote it in script format. I didn't get a chance to read it. I just saw it on their front page.
So have we gotten to the Lester Holt interview yet?
I'm getting there.
Okay.
So later that same day, this is the 11th. That's what, Thursday now?
Yes.
That's Thursday. That's yesterday as we're recording this. News starts coming out before it's actually aired. News starts coming out of this interview that Trump did with Lester Holt for NBC, where Trump told Holt that he had planned to fire Comey, quote, regardless of the recommendation from Rosenstein. And in the same interview, Trump also said he had the Russian investigation in mind when deciding on the firing. This is the full quote from Trump. When I decided to just do it, I said to myself, this Russia thing with Trump and Russia is a made-up story. And it's an excuse by the Democrats for having lost an election that they should have won. He told an NBC News anchor that was what he was thinking about when he made the decision to fire the FBI director who's investigating his campaign.
In the interview, I wish they had a steady cam on Lester Holt. I would love to have seen his reaction in
just straight reaction shots.
Yeah,
in that second.
That footage exists somewhere because they've got reverse shot coverage the whole time.
Right. I want to see. I just
the word agog comes to mind. Like fully mouth open. Did he just say that kind of look?
Or he's a veteran reporter, so when you hear something like that, you just kind of get a little grin on your face, like. This is going to be great.
So we'll get up to the present here. Today, May 12th, the first news I hear, at least, is a Trump tweet saying, quote, James Comey better hope there are no, quote, tapes of our conversations before he starts leaking to the press, exclamation point. So then, during today's press briefing, Spicer was obviously asked if Trump does record his conversations and said, quote, the president has nothing further to add on that. He was asked 3 times. He gave the same answer all 3 times, would not comment.
And there are a lot of reports since that of Trump. This is like a thing he does. Like well before he got into politics, he always recorded conversations, very Nixon-esque kind of behavior.
Yeah.
But, well, these can't possibly come back to harm me.
Spicer also said during the briefing that the tweet about tapes wasn't a threat, but that Trump, quote, simply stated a fact.
Can we quit calling them tapes?
He put tapes in quotes. I'm hoping that was actually like something different than his usual use of quotes where they mean nothing, but an actual attempt to clarify that he doesn't mean physical tapes, but who knows? And Spicer, ended that exchange by saying the tweet speaks for itself. And just to bring us right up to the present, Trump also said this morning that he was considering ending White House press briefings.
Yes.
Yeah.
Doing it in writing instead.
Yes.
Or going out every 2 weeks himself.
Yes.
To answer questions.
Please.
He said at one point that nobody should speak for him but himself, that they should only do it if it's him out there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're pretty young compared, to our parents who actually were adults during Watergate and things. This is unfathomably weird. I couldn't even. It's hard to believe that you're actually living through this right now.
It's like I said, things like Rosenstein walking into the Senate Intel Committee hearing. It was like I was watching the government unravel.
Yeah.
And it could stabilize, but right now it feels like this is a spiral that's just, I've used that term before, and obviously the administration's still around, but God, this seems so much worse.
And also Wednesday, President Donald Trump. I can't
get used to it.
Man.
Next 6 months or so.
He met with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and the ambassador of the United States, Sergei, real original over there. Get some new first names. Kislyak in the Oval Office.
Racist.
At Putin's request. And that's quirky enough. Like, presidents meet with other presidents and prime ministers.
Yeah.
Ambassadors usually meet with
ambassadors' jobs.
Right.
Yeah. That would normally be a lower level meeting, though.
Yes.
And of course, everyone saw the photos.
But the photos only came from Russian press.
The only press allowed in the event was a state-sponsored news organization.
From Russia.
From Russia. No U.S. press, no U.S. photographers.
This seems like it had to have been planned as a message directed directly at the Russians.
It was pitched.
It was not. It certainly was not intended for consumption by American media consumers or media.
Yeah. Well, there were two things that are a little troubling. Kislyak is one of the key figures in the investigation of Trump's campaign in the ties to Russia. He met with Jeff Sessions, Attorney General, and the disgraced Michael Flynn, currently, who will give his story away for immunity. The other weird thing, when they entered the room, Henry Kissinger was sitting on, on the couch.
You can't make this shit up.
A symbol of all that is good and pure about American foreign policy.
Taking them at their word, they said this whole thing was about what to do in Syria. That's why this meeting was set up. That was the official story. If you're doing anything in foreign policy and Henry Kissinger is involved, it's not going to end well for someone.
Yeah. We're going to bomb Cambodia again.
But yeah, that
Trump doesn't know Cambodia doesn't border Syria.
No, and Laos he thinks is his, cleans up his hotel room. So
was that racist?
A little bit.
Yes.
Okay, right. Slightly. Well, James is
hey, own it.
Just sit there in your racistness and be racist and get used to it.
See, that kind of got buried, but
West Wing 2.
Oh, is it? Season 2? Or episode 2?
No, just that was my second West Wing reference.
West Wing. I swear to God, you just said West Wing weapons.
It's possible I did.
But yeah, that whole episode came
right in the middle of it. It's a good thing we don't drink while we're recording this.
And because of tonight's theme, we're drinking vodka. That's actually a fact. We are drinking vodka. Although it's Sky, it's not a Russian vodka. But anyway, that landed right in the middle of this whole week's weirdness.
So I'll put this out there and feel free to say I have no freaking idea. Where does this go from here?
Nobody knew where this was going from the minute it started. The most experienced White House reporter in the press room couldn't have told you from the minute that the Comey firing was announced, what's next. I don't think anybody knows.
Well, I know one thing is for certain. Mitch McConnell has said there will be no special prosecutor. So at least for the time being, that's not on the table.
You mentioned earlier the issue of White House counsel, and there's some odd legal implications going on here. And I'm obviously not a legal expert. I was not smart enough to go to law school. But we've got, first off, sort of odd, maybe not illegal in any way, but we've got Jeff Sessions, who recused himself from the investigation involving Trump and Russia because of his own involvement in the campaign. But it's his deputy, his direct report,
Right.
who is writing a recommendation to fire the FBI director. Like, how insulated is he from Jeff Sessions?
As you said, it's probably not illegal, but it doesn't pass the...
It's hinky.
Yeah, it doesn't pass the smell test.
Yeah. Well, and
Oh, that's coming from outside. Okay. There's a agitated young man outside, and we can hear him clear into the house. Okay. Or I'm sorry, the Stay on Topic studios.
I could also just cut this all out, but
No. Shoot it all, Ed.
it's color.
It adds flavor.
Was that racist?
Aha. Now he reveals
Hoist it
himself.
on your own petard.
You got me.
Anywho, so should we talk best case and worst case scenario
Well, I have another odd legal thing I want to bring up.
Okay.
Which is Comey potentially, now that he's no longer the FBI director, could be a witness
Yes.
in any investigation. And Trump threatened him in public on Twitter. That is theoretically a federal crime that could be seen by a prosecutor as witness tampering of some kind.
Uh-huh.
So that's the moment where I started wondering if White House counsel was hiding under a table somewhere. But no, it's best case, worst case.
Yeah. I mean, best case scenario, worst case scenario. How does this end for Donald Trump? I would imagine worst case scenario is impeachment.
Yeah.
Or is that worst case for him?
Well, I mean,
hypothetically, let's assume he still wants to keep the job.
I don't think impeaching. I'm not sure that impeaching any president is really great for the U.S. as a whole. I think that's a sign of a failure of the system. It's obvious it's the system working as intended, but you really shouldn't get to that point.
Right.
But anyway, if we're going to talk about from Trump's perspective, best case, worst case.
Yeah.
I think that's the easiest way to view this. If we're gonna do that.
I mean, we're not talking about the good of the country. Obviously, it would be a huge black eye on America if our president was impeached.
Yes.
But let's just talk about Donald Trump and his presidency.
I still feel like this has to get worse before congressional Republicans are on board with anything close to impeachment. When McConnell is still saying no special prosecutor after what's happened over the last week, I just don't see it happening. And it's going to have to come from the Republican side.
Well, we were talking during pregame for the show about how the congressional and Senate members, how closely they're playing this to the vest. You don't see, they're outside of one or two. I know Maxine Waters has been just going ballistic.
God bless her.
But other than her, none of the Democrats have really lost their cool about this.
No.
Which makes you wonder, well, what do you know?
Chuck Schumer has been very measured, considering...
Chuck Schumer's measure. I mean, honest to God, if he watched a nuke go off in the middle of New York City, he'd be like, that's a tragedy. I mean,
I don't know.
That's his tone.
I don't know if you listen to the people who write his press releases, he's blasting things almost every day.
I haven't heard full-throated outrage over this from the left, and I haven't heard full-throated support coming from the right. It seems people are really just...
Everybody's just waiting to see how this plays out.
It's
like, we're going to see which way this train is going and decide whether to jump on or jump off.
And I will give John McCain credit because he's one of the few Senate Republicans who have actually called for a special prosecutor. Even Lindsey Graham, who hates Donald Trump, has not gone as far as to call for a special prosecutor. So Senate Republicans, they're sticking with their guy. They're sticking with their guy for the time being. But I can't imagine it would take much more for them to start jumping ship.
I would have jumped ship at the tweet, the threat. I mean, that's
You mean from this morning?
yeah.
That
would have been my
pretty
jumping off
egregious.
point.
Yeah,
That would have done it for me. I would okay, enough of this. I can't, with good conscience, side with this person. But I'm also not pulling down their sweet $170,000 a year salary and all that great health care and all the perks that go
All the
along.
interns you can eat.
well, all those people could be making more in the private sector, and
Yeah.
probably will be someday.
Oh,
But
yeah, for sure.
what do you think? I mean, you brought up best case, worst case. What's best case?
Best case is,
Best case just this all goes away?
I mean, it's not going to go away anytime soon, but best case is that there isn't enough evidence to bring formal charges and it gets dropped and it's a stain on his presidency, but not a fatal wound. And he moves on. And in a year and a half, Democrats try to remind people that this is a thing that happened for the midterms. But by then, he's passed a jobs bill and he's reformed health care. He's passed the American Health Care Act.
Well, and that's it. Short term, does the Senate take up the AHCA next week? I mean, is the beehive going to be settled down enough by that point that they go back to business as usual?
I don't think next week. No. When do they go on their Memorial Day recess?
I don't remember what the schedule is this year.
I think that they take that up after the recess.
Okay.
Well, Susan Collins already has a alternate plan out there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not going to go anywhere, but they're already thinking in terms of. I mean, we talked about it last week. They're not going to tinker with the details of the House version. They're just going to write their own bill.
Yeah.
So,
I guess my question is: does this current crisis, as a subset of the overall Trump-Russia kerfuffle, does it stick around long enough to really hold up Trump's agenda?
No, if I were the Republicans, I would be pushing like hell to push as much legislation through as soon as humanly possible.
yeah, I'd want to change the conversation now.
Exactly.
Find a win. Find something that they can pass now.
And beyond that, just because I don't know how much longer this lunatic's going to be in office, let's take advantage of it while he's there.
Yeah.
I mean, let's get all this stuff off our wish list now.
Well, I mean,
Doesn't it all end up tainted?
Does what end up tainted?
Anything that they pass with Trump's signature on it, doesn't it get looked at differently?
I'm sure it gets looked at differently, but it gets done.
In terms of the legislative legacy of the leaders and people who are looking to their future in the party, it's at what point is that?
That's for us to discuss. Most people, most voters are just going to judge you by results. Did you get me results? Oh yeah, the Russia thing that got the president impeached or whatever. But did you get results? Did you create those jobs that you say you're going to create? Did you fix the tax policy that you said you were going to fix? That's what people are going to look at. I really don't think they care how it gets done.
we talked last week about how short voters' memories are and how, this is a big deal to us because we are political junkies. I don't know that most of America is paying attention even now.
Yeah.
So no, I don't think this is going to taint legislations that's passed after this. as long as there are no charges brought against President Trump or major players in his campaign.
And I guess the question is, what are the chances there are no charges ever brought against Trump or major players in his campaign?
I think there are charges for
Somebody's going down.
That's,
Yeah.
you know, and I guess, you know, if you take the long view, you know, the Clean Air Act and the Clean Water Act, are they considered tainted now because they were Nixon?
Right.
right.
yeah.
No.
Or opening the gateway to China. The
Yeah.
political and conversational
I
gateway to China.
Really thought you said gay way to China.
Oh,
And I was like, what is the gay way to China?
well,
Is it-
James,
is
it's through Thailand.
Wow. That I may actually have to cut. So I do, since you accused us of being too much inside baseball, I have to bring up the insideiest of inside baseball, but I think it's hilarious. So Thursday, Senator Mike Lee, Republican of Utah, starts talking to the press, gets on Twitter, talks to whoever will listen, starts floating the idea that Trump should name Merrick Garland as the new FBI director. He actually issued a statement from his office saying Garland is, quote, eminently qualified and has the reputation needed to restore public confidence in the FBI. So reporters gleefully go out, and because the Senate's still in session, they're still hanging out in the hallways. They go out and start talking to Senate Democrats and asking what they think of the idea. And some of them responded positively. Amy Klobuchar of Minnesota, Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut, both said, you know, he's highly qualified. It's not a bad choice. So just to be clear, everyone's in on the same joke. Garland, to take the FBI job, would have to leave a lifetime appointment on the DC circuit, a body that's going to be incredibly important in checking Trump's policies in the future. They're already in the process of reviewing EPA regulations. So Republicans would happily give up the FBI directorship, which is a position that Trump obviously can fire that person anytime he wants, in exchange for a lifetime appointment on the DC circuit that would shift that court to the right. That's an easy trade for Republicans to make.
Sure.
And some Democrats just didn't get apparently where he was going with this. In their defense, some saw the bad pitch they were getting. Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island, when asked by a reporter about this idea, just rolled his eyes and walked away.
A la Anderson Cooper?
Yes. And Senator Brian Schatz, my hero, Democrat of Hawaii, in response to tweets about this, actually tweeted in reply the Akbar GIF. It's a trap!
And it's pronounced GIF.
It's GIF.
It's GIF.
There's no reason for it to be GIF.
The creator of it said, no, it was meant to be pronounced GIF.
I don't give a crap what the creator says.
It's a hard G. Like,
Why would it be a hard G?
It makes
There's
no phonetic sense whatsoever.
There's no phonetic reason for it to be a hard G.
No,
it's
none.
not. It's not positioned. It's not paired with a vowel
Nope.
in a way that would make it a hard G.
Nope.
well, I thought the hard G was GIF. GIF is the soft G, isn't it?
Well, GIF is the hard. It's the J like G. It's the harder G.
We cutting this out too.
I know I'm a hard G.
I'm sure there are many linguists, many cunning linguists.
I'm the OG. And we're out.
Thanks for coming, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget to tip your waitress.
But no, I just thought that story was hilarious because in the middle of all this shit going on, Mike Lee thought he could get this passed, and some people actually bit at the bait.
Well, okay, so I'd like to stand up for my brethren, my Democratic brethren. Maybe they realized the trap that was being laid, but they still said, yeah, Garland is very qualified for this job, knowing that there's no way in hell Garland would take this job.
Yeah, and I suppose that's also true, but it gave more air to the story when people started saying it was a good idea. It was a story Thursday night for 4 or 5 hours, which, in the span of this week, that's massive.
Yeah.
The other thing, President Donald Trump told Time Magazine for their next issue that they really need to go back to steam-powered catapults to launch planes off aircraft carriers.
What?
Really?
Yes.
What?
And
right now we're using electromagnetic catapults, but he's like, they're digital. Digital is too complicated. We can save money. Let's go back to steam.
Steampunk?
Steam-powered catapults.
let's use steam to run the aircraft too.
Shoveling coal into the...
Yeah, that was one of those...
Was that in response to a question of some kind?
It was talking. It didn't put it in
Were they
context.
asking him about government efficiency, and that's where he went?
Don't know. We'll have to get the next issue of Time.
Or not. Just read it online.
Yeah. So yeah, that was another thing, just bizarro thing that came out of our president's mouth this week that you could have just glossed right over because of everything else that. Yeah, he wants to go back to steam and former Arkansas governor Mike Huckabee.
Oh, geez.
Doesn't know how acronyms work. For those who don't know, Mike Huckabee fancies himself a comedian on Twitter, and he is god awful at it. He makes the worst jokes. So this week he tweeted that CNN stood for the Cardiac Care Network.
Yeah.
So he was trying to make a joke how liberals are, their heart rates went up because of the Comey firing, and in doing so screwed up the joke by totally whiffing on the acronym.
And offended people with heart disease.
Yeah, that too. So yeah, 2 other little items that they really flew under the radar.
Anything could have flown under the radar this week. We could have.
Oh my God! Yeah,
we could have invaded Scotland this week, and it would have flown under the radar.
Yeah. So this is just oh my God, such a strange week. Yeah. By the way, if you want to get in on the conversation or introduce a topic or request a picture of Bob Ricotta without a shirt, hit us on email at stayontopic111@gmail. You're up for that, right, Bob?
The shirtless photo?
Shirtless photos.
It's already on the internet, so why not?
Twitter handles?
I'm thinking next year we do a Bob Ricotta calendar.
I was suggesting we throw out our Twitter handles if you were going to do station ID now.
Sure. No, I just wanted to work that in before I forgot. Yeah, you can hit me up with any questions on Twitter at Giltastrophe. You can hit up James Post
at PostJM9. And you can hit up Bob Ricotta
at Bob Ricotta.
It's so easy.
And it's Ricotta, Recotta, not ricotta like the cheese.
Yeah, I always get that confused.
And interesting story. When my grandfather immigrated to America from the old country, he did not know how to read and write. So in immigration, his name was spelled with R-I, and the immigration officer changed it to an R-E and altered my family's history for the rest of our lives.
My family changed their name from
Lipschitz?
From O'Gill to Gill. They dropped the O to hide the fact they were Irish. Didn't work. Did not work.
And, of course, most people know the Posts changed their name from Hitler.
Exactly.
Because it just didn't work.
That's why you're so accusatory of everyone else being racist. To hide your own.
Well, we've got to stay as far away from it as possible. It's like the German laws about denying the Holocaust. Same kind of thing.
So
another. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to touch for a minute on something that I read on Vox, Ezra Klein's great website. Donald Trump has more or less pissed off the FBI. Do we remember the last president who pissed off the FBI? Does the name Mark Felt mean anything to anybody?
Yeah.
He was the assistant FBI director, better known as Deep Throat.
Yes.
So, you want to go to war with the FBI, and the FBI is under the executive branch, but they're their own thing. They pride themselves on their independence.
Mm-hmm.
So
they're in a position to investigate the president
right.
if such needs to be done.
So for Donald Trump to fire a respected director and set him up as a patsy, he could make a powerful enemy in the FBI.
Oh, I think he already has.
We could start seeing leaks come out of the FBI. They could the Senate hasn't really allocated a lot of money towards the Russian investigation. The FBI could help them out with that. They could, give them resources, give them investigators to move this along further. I don't think this was a wise fight for Donald Trump to be picking.
He doesn't, again, ready, fire, aim.
Yeah. Oh, and just a minor thing. I would like to praise my brethren in the media. I have not heard this at once. I haven't heard one person call this Comey Gate.
Yeah, good point.
Very good bravo. Because for a while, everything had a gate attached to it.
Yeah.
But, well done on your restraint.
Plus, I think there are way too many moving parts to this thing to boil it down to one term.
Okay, I do want to bring up a really simple question, and maybe there's a simple answer, but it's been nagging at me for the last couple of days.
Bruce Willis is a ghost.
Thanks. If you think that the guy running the FBI is against you, and he was appointed by the previous president, and there's already weird stuff in his past, like the way the email investigation was handled, why isn't that exactly the guy you want to stay in that job while you're being investigated?
Right.
Why roll the dice on somebody else and maybe they turn out to be an upstanding guy?
I wouldn't pick that fight.
Well, from Trump insiders, Donald Trump values loyalty, and he asked Comey to take a loyalty pledge, which Comey refused to do.
And
yeah,
rightly fucking so.
Yes,
I want every director of the FBI to deny that pledge.
But I don't think Donald Trump put a lot of thought into this beyond, this guy's with me or this guy's against me. Oh, he's against me. He's out the door.
So is this proof that Trump is not a deep political thinker? When as much as we've tried to.
Oh, James.
And it's every once in a while in previous episodes we've thought, the Trump administration did this. Are they crazy like a fox? Is there a long-term plan?
Okay.
Is this the final nail on the coffin of that idea?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the crazy like a fox theory has been shot full of holes. I think he's just crazy as a shithouse rat.
Is he a fox on the run?
He's a silver fox. Well, he's a
orangish.
Yeah. No. This shows no political savvy whatsoever. No awareness. This is
it's if you're gonna do something like this, there's a whole process you go through. You soften up the ground. You start,
You plant a dead hooker in his trunk.
Well, obviously there's that, but you don't go out a week before and say you have full confidence. You start setting up the case.
And you don't tell Lester Holt.
Yeah. And you don't tell Lester Holt, yeah, I fired him because I didn't like the Russia investigation.
Diane
Did
Sawyer
he not know
maybe.
he was on camera? He's been on camera a lot.
He did hit the circuit
maybe
lot this week, which, with all the things going on, really surprised me.
That was probably all planned well in advance.
This is the act of a bully. Plain and simple. Donald Trump is used to getting his way, and he surrounds himself with sycophants, and this guy dared to stand up to him, and so he's gone. It's that simple.
Thing is, this bully picked on the weird kid that sat way in the back corner of class that always stared straight ahead with an angry look in his face.
The one that eventually shows up with a gun?
Yep. Yeah, he bullied the wrong kid.
Excellent. School shootings. Nice analogy.
Oh, that's
Here's another question that might lead you to believe I'm overthinking this. The timing is strange, which makes me wonder if something was about to happen. Am I overthinking that?
Interesting question, because like we just said, the way Trump operates, would he have waited, or is this just a shoot from the hip thing?
Conventional wisdom would say, yes, you're right. The timing is beyond hinky, and this was meant to head off something.
When he asked for more resources, that was the last straw that the camel could bear, in Trump's view.
Yeah, so you think that's it?
That's
it.
And
not some announcement that was going to be made, or, we're broadening our investigation. We're investigating the president himself now. After supposedly Comey told Trump 3 times to his face that he was not being investigated, which is a whole other legal question. Whether it's legal or ethical for him to ask his own FBI director if he's under investigation.
It's kind of like,
but apparently he did it 3 times.
It's kind of like Beetlejuice. If you say it 3 times, it's got to be true.
Yeah.
Biggie Smalls, Biggie Smalls, Biggie Smalls.
He did not appear, for those listeners who are wondering.
Or did he? Yeah, as I understood,
you'd hear the floor creak in this place.
Oh, totally. As I understood it, that was the thing that prompted this firing.
Yeah.
But yeah, hey, wouldn't that come out anyway?
Obviously it did.
But I mean, if the FBI was gearing up to announce something, he fires the chief, and who is at bare minimum respected by his peers. Whoever took up that mantle is going to make that announcement anyway.
Unless Trump thinks that keeps the lid on it because the next guy knows the same thing could happen to him.
There just seems to be
like the threat to Comey not to open his mouth.
It seems to be a much larger...
And the threat to Comey not to open his mouth makes it seem like there's something that Comey as an individual knows that Trump doesn't want talked about, more than something that's in the possession of the FBI.
But if you're Comey, are you going to talk right now?
That's a whole other question.
Oh, hell no. No. Whatever you know, you're going to sit on. You're going to talk to... You're going to lawyer up. See what you can and can't say, and to whom you can and can't say it. That would be my play if I had that Trump card.
Is Comey going to be subpoenaed?
By everybody in America.
Yeah. Well, he was supposed to, or he was asked to appear in front of
by an assistant DA in Duxworth.
In front of a Senate committee
West Wing
next
3.
week. But his schedule wouldn't allow it.
Yeah.
I think he's going to have to make...
He's lawyering up.
Yeah, he's going to have to make time in the near future.
Yep.
So I think this is a bad fight. I mean, Donald Trump is not a smart guy. He does not have a lot of political savvy. This was a bad fight to pick.
Yeah.
This could end his presidency, or at least taint or mar his presidency for however long he holds the office.
From the pristine state that it was in before.
But nothing he'd done up to now had the heft of this.
Yeah. Nothing was quite so Nixonian.
Oh,
we're going to use the word Nixonian because everyone on Twitter has been using it for the last 4 days.
This goes so far beyond Nixon, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, Nixon was just paranoid about what the Democrats were saying about him. this guy is possibly in league with Russia or in debt with Russia, or Russia has P videos of him or something.
Yeah.
And
What if it's just P audio tapes?
Well, you can't prove that. P audio tapes are tough to prove. Trust me.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. If it turns out just to be P audio tapes, you know,
It could
all
just
this
be
could have been in vain.
It could have been the faucet running for all we know.
Yeah. I don't know. If this is about P videos, they must be some pretty wicked P videos.
Have we exhausted our wit at this point?
Yeah, probably. So what'd you guys do fun last week? Anything good?
Did anyone see Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2?
That's on schedule for date night tomorrow night.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Great.
That works out really well for our planned,
Sorry,
continued
man.
discussion of the film tonight.
Good
job.
I can leave the room. I can go have a cigarette.
No, you can't leave the room. You're one of us.
You just admitted to being a smoker on the internet. We just lost 37 subscribers. And we don't even have that
But we
many.
can get the
So
sweet,
now we're our negative 23
get that
subscribers.
sweet tobacco advertising money.
That is true. If we were open to Philip Morris money,
We are.
I am totally
we are-
open to Philip Morris money.
it's a wholly untapped market. It's the opposite of Blue Apron.
Or me undies.
Black Lung is the opposite of Blue Apron. Yes. Yeah, we'll take gun money. We'll take cigarette money. We'll take heroin money.
We'll take guns or cigarettes.
Lawyers, guns, and cigarettes.
So here's a fun little note from pop culture land. Diane Lane, y'all know who she is.
Yes.
She plays Martha Kent in the DC film universe in Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and Justice League. She was on a television show promoting a movie that she's in currently, and a caller called in and asked, can you give us any information on Justice League, and is it better than Avengers? And her response was no and no.
Wow.
I thought that was funny.
So yeah, I've been catching up on some DVR material.
Nice. What you got?
I've been enjoying the hell out of Archer Dreamland. It revitalized the series. It breathed new life into it.
Really?
Yes. Very strong season. Either of you? No?
No.
Okay.
I'm waiting for Netflix.
Sure.
Yep.
Sure. Very strong season. And I'm really liking Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
So good this season.
It's very good this season.
Yeah, it's no, it's not a stretch. This is by quite a large margin its best season out of 4, right? This is season 4.
4 or 5, yeah.
I
just
thought it was
renewed-
5.
But they just renewed for season 5.
Okay.
Oh.
All right.
But either way,
I fell off the boat season 3, so
wow, you went that long.
about
Good for you.
halfway through.
I've stuck with it for some reason. I don't know why, but
Because it's good. It's Marvel.
well, that was it. Yeah. And they did a lot of interplay with the movies, or at least reference the movies.
Yeah. It feels part of the shared universe.
Man, they haven't done that once this season, it seems like. They've
haven't-
totally ignored it.
Yeah.
And it's the best season they've had.
Yep.
To be fair, I stuck around through mid-season 3. After it was well into season 2, I'd given up after episode 2 of season 1, and people started telling me that season 2 was actually really good. So then I felt like I had to catch up. And then I made it to mid-season 3 back when that was live TV and just lost interest. So
Yeah, they really. What is that noise?
Tow truck?
Is it a tow truck? Okay, hopefully it's not one of our cars. But yeah, they fell into that villain of the week trap.
Almost like a procedural.
Yeah, and it took him a long time to claw out of that.
It felt like in the first season that was the goal, was to be a superhero procedural. They just didn't do it very well.
No.
But I think when you are creating a new show like this, you have to do a few villain of the weeks to establish characters, develop relationships, and then you start doing arcs, which I felt like they did. I was never bored by Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I was probably one of the few, but I've enjoyed it to varying degrees throughout its run. But this season is outstanding.
Yeah, it's so good. Maybe you could make an argument that it's the best show based on superhero material on television right now.
Have they done anything since then that has surpassed the gut punch of realizing that Gemma Simmons was not actually there when Fitz was talking to her?
Yes. Without giving anything away.
Well,
I'm not asking you to give anything away. I'm
Yes.
just saying that to me, that was the high point of the season or the series.
Yes, this season's had a couple high points like that.
Okay.
It's
Fair enough.
It's tricky because of the subject and the material they're covering. But yes, there have been some shock. There have been some character turning points that have been, oh my God, moments.
Because I literally needed like a double shot at that point. That was like,
Wow.
yeah.
I mean, that's Red Wedding level of...
Wow. Yeah, I don't think it was quite that.
I don't know why.
It was well executed.
I was really attached to those characters.
It was super well executed for sure.
If you're attached to those characters, you'll like this season because...
But see, I didn't like mid-season 3, I hated where they were going with those characters, and that's when I jumped out.
Okay.
Well, jump back on, and there is a payoff for doing so.
Okay.
Are you current?
I am.
Okay, I'm 2 episodes behind, so...
Yeah, I love what they've done with this. They kind of split the season in half.
Yeah.
And I love what they're doing in the second half.
Right.
And the first half was pretty strong.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's really good. And, of course, we're into May, which means a slew of stuff is hitting Netflix. Like, a slew of really cool stuff. Sense8.
Master of None.
Season 2.
Yep.
Orange is the New Black. I think they're in season 4 now. Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, season 3. And then some really cool movies like Doctor Strange is going to hit Netflix
Nice.
this month. So, and Indianapolis 500,
Eh.
my favorite sporting event of all time. Okay. Not into the racing cars, huh?
No, you kind of looked at me and it's like I'm going to spare the listeners my strange cultural interest this week.
No, please.
I'll bet you it has something to do with Japan.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Really.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
You know, there's a listener out there who's like, "Aw."
Let's hit the bars, boys.